The concept of diaspora happens when a large section of a community or body of immigrants settles down in an adopted country, and slowly its culture and traditions get established and passed on to the next generation. So for Bharatanatyam, it has happened. It has worldwide appeal. Many Indians settle abroad since long. Continents like USA, Europe and other smaller countries near and far, Mauritius, Trinidad, Fiji, Australia, New Zealand, portions of Africa, Europe, France, Sweden, Germany, Italy, Poland, wherever one goes, one sees that lot of artists come from this background of having learnt Bharatanatyam. So third generation of Indians who have settled abroad, whose parents are well established, are now partaking great pride in this cultural expression which binds all of India from all classical dance forms, Bharatanatyam. Much more movement is also happening from India worldwide. So lot more dancers, teachers, gurus, filmmakers, critics are promoting and platforming Bharatanatyam worldwide wherever they travel. This has also led to greater exchange of culture and its practices. No doubt it was pioneering foreigners from Europe and USA who opened our eyes to Indian dances. It was in 1920s, great many dance names like Anne Pavlova, Ruth St. Denis, Ted Shawn, La Mary, Louis Lightfoot came to India and thus made Indian dances popular in their countries. They created an air, a market environment as it were, followed by Indians like Ram Gopal, Uday Shankar, Anand Shevram, Gopinath and others going out to showcase Indian dances. Like Isodhara Duncan, who preceded her, Ruth St. Denis was a revolutionary artist who felt the need to break from the limitations of ballet. Knowing full well that the Western mind could not assimilate the content of these dances of the East with their gestures and movements that have come down through long generations as symbols of faith and legend, she made no attempt to reproduce them. Her aim was to give a fair and beautiful translation that would help American and European audiences come closer to Oriental cultures. In that, she proved to be a catalyst. Her many dances with Indian themes like Radha, Incense, Cobra, Nautch dances made many come closer to things Indian, and Ted Shawn was drawn to her art and her. The two got married. Denis Shawn, the dance school and the dance company was born. Denis Shawn toured until 1932, during which time they trained countless dancers. The most memorable tour from Indian dance history point of view was in 1925 when the company landed in India at Calcutta. In Calcutta, Denis Shawn performed at the Empire Theatre. Two of her favorite items Ruth had included in her tour repertoire were Nautch dance and the dance of the black and gold sari. The two items proved to be most smashing not only in Calcutta but wherever the company performed. In the south, they extended their trip to include Madurai, where they marveled at the felicity of the celebrated Devadasi Kamalamba. In Madras, on seeing Mahabalipuram, Ted Shawn was inspired to compose the dance of Shiva, for which he got a huge brass of ring of Shiva's fire made in metal by a Calcutta foundry, at center of which he stood himself and danced as Shiva Nataraja. Their tour of India gave them many insights into India, and wherever they went, they opened the eyes of Indians to beauty and greatness of Indian dances neglected under a long colonial rule. On the 10th anniversary of her joining the Mariinsky, Anne Pavlova appeared as a lead dancer in a new ballet, La Bayadere. This is based on life of a Devadasi who is loved by a Hindu priest, but she loves a gallant in the local Raja's service. Pavlova's involvement with India started from this time. On her first visit to India in 1922, the lasting impressions Pavlova carried of her visit was of the Ajanta frescoes. In London, her staff choreographer, Ivan Klastine, created a ballet called Ajanta Frescoes, but the effort remained amateurish. Freckles teen had never seen the frescoes nor had any idea of Indian dancing. In India, Pavlova had occasion to attend a wedding, and now her attention turned to reproducing a ballet on this. Komalata Banerjee was commissioned to devise the music for the ballet titled A Hindu Wedding. But Pavlova made a greater contribution than this. She was advised of a young Indian boy who was in London studying painting, who also dabbled in dance and who might prove of help to Pavlova in designing the ballet. Thus, Anna Pavlova discovered Uday Shankar as a dancer, for he not only designed but choreographed a Hindu wedding. He also choreographed Krishna and Radha, in which Pavlova invited him to partner her on stage. Thus, India's greatest genius in dance was born. In 1929, Pavlova was going to Australia via India and Java. A young bride, Rukmini Devi Arundale, with her husband, George Arundale, was aboard the ship. Their cabin was opposite Pavlova's, and one thing led to another, and Pavlova's staff choreographer, Cleo Nordi, inspired Rukmini to learn ballet while on the long journey. Later, Rukmini Devi not only helped reinstate Bharatanatyam, but also set up an institution, Kalakshetra, for its teaching. Arriving in India in the late 1940s, Nallanajan immersed himself wholeheartedly in learning Bharatanatyam. Like all others of his time, he based himself in Madras, and later, after his guru, Kattumanar Muthukumaran Pillai, left Madras for his native place, he decided to follow him to Chidambaram. Back in New York, Nallanajan started dancing, but several factors made him not succeed. First, men dancing those days were an oddity, even in New York of the 50s. Two, opportunities for Hindu dances were few. He survived in the 60s, helping Ted Shawn and Saul Hurok organize tours of visiting Indian artists. His official debut took place on February 12, 1960, in New York City. The famous critic Walter Terry wrote in the New York Herald Tribune, "Nallanajan, an American youth who ran off to India to study firsthand the ancient classical dances, made his formal debut. The auditorium was jammed. The program included cool classicism of Bharatanatyam, a highly auspicious debut." Nallanajan was instrumental in the Sarikala Chow dancers touring the USA, with Nalla himself providing expert introductions. He was the first promoter of the form and enlisted Saul Hurok, no less, an impresario, to help the form reach many in the USA. His introductions and commentary on each dance form was very useful because very back then Indian dances were not well known and clubbed with Oriental or Hindu dances. It can be said that Nallanajan put India on the world dance map in USA. But for these foreign dancers who came all through the early 20th century, savored and saved some of our own traditions, we may not have had a Ram Gopal discovered by American ethnic dancer La Mary, or yet another American dancer, Ragini Devi, who discovered Gopinath. Australian Louis Lightfoot came and discovered Ananda Shivram, and many such later examples abound. Writers like Beryl Desert and Travanier wrote exclusively on Indian dancing in India. In the decade after this, the slow and steady revival of Indian dance traditions started, and above foreigners deserve credit for showcasing Indian dances worldwide, thereby creating not only an interest and a market abroad, but also opened the eyes of Indians to their own traditions. While Indian dances have reached out to most corners of the world now, thanks also to Indian diaspora, the original catalysts were a few pioneering foreigners and traditional gurus who inspired many Indians to relook at their own dance traditions. They played a significant role in shaping the fortunes of Indian dances. Thus, what started in 1920s has come a full circle now as we are approaching the middle of the next century. Many Indian dance schools in teaching Bharatanatyam have opened in many parts of the world, and both Indians and foreigners partake of it. In USA alone, there must be over 500 schools, coast to coast. In the passion for rediscovery of our cultural identity through the nationalist movement in India, Bharatanatyam, like all other dance forms, received a new thrust. Its revival characterized by a sea change in dancers and art context. The hitherto guarded privacy of a tradition nurtured within a community was suddenly full of persons from non-traditional backgrounds practicing the art form, with the helpless Devdasi sinking or fading into past oblivion, except for one or two like Bala Saraswati the Great, an exception even amongst the Devdasis, or Swarna Saraswati, who shifted from Madras to Delhi and taught many young practitioners who are popular names today. As art training institutions proliferated and the dance spread, the Bharatanatyam dancer, in a post-independent Indian context, acquired the status of a cultural ambassador, and the art form and practitioners becoming unofficial diplomatic symbols as one of the embodiments of many organizations like the Foreign Ministries, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, which were established to help art and cultural activities reach out and become the cultural arm of diplomacy. It was not long before Bharatanatyam dancers, as wives of doctors and engineers serving abroad, cautiously ventured into starting Bharatanatyam teaching classes in basements. The dance became for the diaspora a means of retaining connection with one's Indianness while functioning far from home, and also an expression reinforcing and asserting one's separate ethnic identity while remaining part of a larger multicultural society. Not by any means part of mainstream art, Bharatanatyam nevertheless has acquired over the years a more visible presence in countries like the United States and the UK. The diaspora is now confident enough to go longer and look to India for leads and legitimacy. The dancers here now are crying to be recognized in their own right. Two conferences held in the United States at Houston and Chicago on Indian dance in diaspora and Bharatanatyam in diaspora, respectively, were proof of more assertive Indian dance presence. While the first of these events was mounted by Samskriti under the guidance of dancer Ratna Kumar, the Chicago conference was presented by Natya Dance Theatre run by Hema Rajgopalan, ably assisted by her daughter and disciple Kritika Rajgopalan, in conjunction with Columbia College, Chicago. The scene in the States today is a far cry from the days when Ragini Devi, mother of late Indrani Rahman, who nurtured an inner conviction of having been an Indian in her previous birth, began learning Bharatanatyam from Gauri Ammal of Chennai and Jetty Tayamma of Karnataka. Sukanya, the daughter of Indrani, one of the panelists of Chicago conference, recounted how her grandmother had happened to stumble on the Natya Shastra in 1928. She even subsequently authored a book on Indian classical dances. When Ragini Devi returned to her homeland America, it was to see modern dancer Ruth St. Denis creating, through her imagination, dance images of an India she had never visited, though she did travel to this country much later in life. Ragini Devi, in the attempt to make what she had learnt in India communicate to the Western audience at home, even set Bharatanatyam movements to Western music. The Western world was to be soon treated to excellence in Bharatanatyam through dancers like Ram Gopal, Shantarao, and later the great Bala Saraswati. In Canada and in the UK, Indian classical dance has made more headway, it would seem, with both Kathak and Bharatanatyam becoming part of the educational curriculum. In Europe, France remains #1 for learning and teaching Bharatanatyam, followed by UK and others. The French have taken to Bharatanatyam and Carnatic music like fish to water. For 35 years, Guru M.K. Saroja went to Paris each year and trained over 300 students, of whom Vidya now heads Mandapa's Bharatanatyam section. Dominique, Shakuntala, Malvika, Amla Devi, Manoche are famed performers, teachers in France. Germany has Arup Ghosh in Munich, trained by Padma Subramaniam and M.K. Saroja, Alexandra Romanova, Angelika Sriram, Katya Shivani, Margit Kaufman, Rajeshri Ramesh. In UK, many dancers have settled and continue to teach like Pushkala Gopal, Usha Raghavan, Geeta Upadhyay, Anusha Subramaniam, Chitra Sundaram, Chitralekha Bolar, Geeta Sridhar, Deepa Ganesh, Neena Rajarani, Chamundeshwari Kuppuswamy. Institutions like Bharati Vidya Bhavan, universities like Roehampton teach Bharatanatyam, which is even included in the school syllabus. Mavin Koo, Mayuri Buhon, Sita Patel are some prominent dancers of Bharatanatyam. The presence of Bharatanatyam dance classes at several major London Tamil temples signifies a new link between the dance and the religious ritual and the religious expansion in the contemporary diasporic setting. It also signifies the increased importance of assignment to the dissemination of dancing within religious practice. Bharatanatyam, it's currently being pronounced and promoted as an important subject for study in 3 of the main London Tamil temples. Many community elders, dance teachers, temple devotees and religious leaders consider it to be relevant to religious festivals in Tamil temples where performances by teachers, professionals and students can be seen. It is taught at most of the Tamil Saturday and Sunday schools, some of which have significant links with the Sri Lanka. Toronto saw its first Bharatanatyam school in 1975 with the opening of Menka Thakkar's Nritya Kala. Lata Pada founded Sampradaya in 1990 in Mississauga. Trained in Tanjore style of Bharatanatyam, she and her dance company present Bharatanatyam and contemporary works. Sudha Khandwani opened her Kalanidhi Fine Arts of Canada in 1992. Her notable contribution to the diaspora is by way of conferences and international festivals. Hari Krishnan, artistic director of In Dance, is known equally for his traditional Bharatanatyam as well as his contemporary works. Janak Khendri's Bharatanatyam started in 1955 in Chidambaram and later in Kattumanar Koil under Guru Muthukumaran Pillai in Hyderabad with T.K. Narayanan. In 1968, he met U.S. Krishna Rao and Chandrabhaga Devi of Bangalore and New York City, who gave him the best of the Pandanallu tradition for the next 30 years. Janak Khendri Dance Company started in 1978 in New York and registered in Canada in 1981. In Montreal, Mamata Niyogi Nakara, a disciple of U.S. Krishna Rao and Chandrabhaga Devi, has been teaching the Pandanallu style she imbibed from her gurus through her institution Kala Bharati that she founded in 1981. In Valluvur, Canadian dancer Jay Govind went to learn, and in his native Vancouver, he is carrying on the good work with his Mandala arts and culture. Established in 1994, the Academy specializes in Bharatanatyam and recognized by Heritage Canada for its excellence in teaching. Bala Saraswati's disciple Priyamvada Shankar and her Shankar School of Bharatanatyam and Vasanta Krishna's Nrityalaya Foundation are both based in Quebec. Do you know when and where was the first PhD done on Indian dance? Not in India, but in France at Sorbonne in late 1870s. So long ago, the first PhD on Indian dance was done in a university abroad in France. Universities are also proving to be important resource centers, and the learning curves, especially when established dancers who have settled worldwide, are taking this teaching forward. We have had many foreigners who came to India and learnt Indian dance forms and started teaching abroad. And we've had many Indians now who are settled in those countries and have taken and teach in various universities abroad. Many famous pioneering dancers from 1920s onwards like Ted Shawn and Ruth St. Denis came from America and set up Jacob's Pillow, and then the American Dance Festival Pillow became very, very famous. We have in France many important institutions of learning, both at university and at institutional level, like Mandapa in Paris, or Teatro Taschibile di Bergamo in Italy, or we have Wuppertal in Germany, or we have Sampad and Bharatavidya Bhavan in London, in New York, in many world capitals, including in Near East and Midwest. Some of the famous dancers who have made names for themselves abroad are in many faculties of our universities, teaching in Chicago, be it in Roehampton, be it in Bolivia or in Singapore. There are lots of names which you will come across as you go into this journey of studying the outreach of Indian dance worldwide. Prominent Bharatanatyam schools in the USA, to name a few, are Rangoli Foundation for Art and Culture by Malti Iyengar in California, Arpana School of Dance by Ramya Harishankar, again in California. Lasya Dance Company by Vidya Subramaniam in California. Abhinay Dance Center Company, Maithili Kumar in California. Natya Dance Theatre, Hemaraj Gopalan, Illinois. Nrityanjali by Jyoti Raghavan in Massachusetts. Nritya Sudha's Hindu Temple Rhythms, Sudha Chandrasekhar in Minnesota. Surya Dance Company, Prasanna Kasturi in Missouri. Nrityanjali Institute of Dance, Ramya Ramnarayan in New Jersey. Nritya Sudha's Hindu Temple by Sudha Chandrasekhar, also in Michigan. Nritya Sangram Dance Academy by Satya Pradeep in New York State. Nritya School of Bharatanatyam, Padmini Chari in Texas. Anjali Center for Performing Arts by Ratna Kumar in Texas. Aarti School of Dance by Revati Satyu in Texas. And Aarti School of Dance by Asha Gopal in Arizona. Even in Alaska, there are Bharatanatyam teaching schools, and this way the Indian diaspora community stays in touch with its cultural moorings. Many Indian parents in USA want their children to learn Bharatanatyam and perform. Many dance teachers are also grooming their daughters to continue their lineage, like Hema Rajgopalan, Kritika Rajgopalan, Malti Iyengar, Lakshmi Iyengar, Viji Prakash, Maithili Prakash, Maithili Kumar, Rasika and Malvika, Rani Ramaswamy, Ashwini and Aparna Ramaswamy. The number of Bharatanatyam dancers in the US is in close competition to the number in India and is increasing because of many schools coming up in every other locality. D. Kesava in Basel, Switzerland, and TTB, Teatro Taschibile di Bergamo, in Italy are some most prominent institutions of learning and promoting Bharatanatyam in the last 30 years. There are dance schools in Spain, Kazakhstan, Akamal Casanova, Argentina, Brazil, New Zealand, Reunion Islands, West Indies, Ukraine, China, and even Pakistan, where dancers like Shima Kirwani pursue their passion against all odds. Chandrabhanu, Anandavali, Padma Balakumara, Revati Ilanko, and others championed the cause of Bharatanatyam in Australia. The ICCR has also started sending many dance teachers for short periods to many countries like Poland, Japan, Belgium, Netherlands, Mauritius, China. In South Africa, those who learned dance in the 40s, 50s, 60s in India and who had migrated after marriage to South India had managed to set up modest schools and conduct arangetrams and performances in the local constituency. When apartheid was dismantled in 1994, the world exhaled in relief and the Indian community heaved a sigh of relief. KWA Zulu Natal Dance Theatre, Wazungi Singh, Kantarubi Dance Academy by Kantarubi Munuswamy, Natyamani Manasa Bharatanatyam Academy, Manasa Devi Govinder are well known. In Singapore, Neela Satyalingam with her husband and Shanta Bhaskar with her husband established themselves with Apsara's Arts and Nritalaya Aesthetic Society, Bhaskar's Arts Academy, the Temple of Fine Arts, Suvarna Fine Arts of Ajit Bhaskaran Das, and Ramli Ibrahim Sutra Dance Theatre are reputed schools of Bharatanatyam in Malaysia, with many more in the field. We have a large established Indian population in Southeast Asia that is closely connected to India. The Indians living in Singapore, Malaysia and Indonesia consider themselves to be part of Greater India, and classical dances are a part of their lives. Indian culture is trying to broaden its perspectives and transcend the barriers of both India and diaspora, says Ramli Ibrahim, one of the best known exponents and teachers in Malaysia of Bharatanatyam and Odissi. Ibrahim has groomed some of the finest dancers in Malaysia and Sutra, and at the same time placed Indian classical dance in the context of Malaysian experiences. Other than Indians learning, one reason foreigners are learning too is for the West's return to spirituality. Many new age trends are taking shape and roots in USA, Australia, and the Near East. And such people, both Indians and those coming in contact with them, are fostering a close interactive relationship with these art forms.